Good evening, everyone. Just waiting for people to join. Hope everyone is well. If you're here with me, please say hello. I'm going through StreamYard, so there should be a link around this video. Just pop on to that link and just give StreamYard permission to see your name, and then I can see who's talking to me, because I'd love for you to talk to me this evening through the comments. I have got my phone on just in case, just so that I can see the comments at the same time, and I will periodically check in on those. So say hello, and just going to give it another couple of minutes because I know that a few people did say they were coming on this evening. We're talking about the power of our thoughts this evening. So all will become clear, but we do a lot of thinking, and that has a huge impact on how we go through our daily lives. So just a reminder, if anybody's popping on, please say hello. Would love to see who is here with me. There is a link in the comments of this video, just getting you to connect with StreamYard. So if you're going to comment and say hello, then I will be able to see your comments as we go through. But let's get started. So the power of thought. If you're watching, and because I'm not seeing that anybody's coming up at the moment, StreamYard's a little bit hit and miss as to whether people are watching or not. But have you experienced the law of attraction? Have you read books about our thoughts are creating what we experience in the world? Just be interested to know who and if anybody has actually done any work around this concept. When I first trained in all of this stuff, I was taught that an average person has around 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Okay, from the minute we wake up to the minute we go to bed, every single decision we make, every single thing we do, we are having a thought, whether we are consciously having that thought or not, happening to us. Seems such an awful big number, 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So I did do a little bit of background research on this, and numbers have changed. They recently did a study in Canada. They did a study with 184 people, and they wired them all up, and they discovered that on average, through these experiments, people were having about 6,000 to 7,000 thoughts a day. Now, I can get my head around that a little bit more, although it's still a vast number. So whether it's 6,000 or 70,000, we are doing a lot of thinking with our minds. So when we have these thoughts, again, unconscious or conscious, statistics show that around 80% of the thoughts we have in our day, every day, are negative. Okay, so we are berating ourselves, or we are thinking negatively about something that's going on in our world. And 95% of those thoughts we have repetitively on a daily basis. So we're not just thinking them once, we're not just thinking them on one particular day, we are thinking them every single day repetitively. Now, I can probably think of half a dozen thoughts that I think every single day. And I know one of them is, oh, I've got to get out of bed. You know, and I think that one every single day. And I find getting out of bed a struggle. It's a negative thought. Whereas if I thought, yay, it's time to get up, let's get up with a bit of energy, maybe my day would start a little bit differently. So when we think about this number of thoughts that we're having on a repetitive basis, what is that creating for ourselves? If you've looked at the law of attraction, you know that we have the law of reciprocity. I never know how to say that word, reciprocity. So what we give out, we get back. So that's not just in our actions, that's not just in our words, that's in what we think as well. So what we are thinking is coming back to us. There is a thing called the reticular activating system in our mind, which is what we focus on, we bring to ourselves. So just as an example, if you've ever played the game as we're driving along, yellow car, you know, you never see a yellow car, very rarely see a yellow car. And then you start playing the yellow car game. Who can see a yellow car first? And then all of a sudden, these yellow cars all sort of come out of the woodwork and you start seeing lots of yellow cars. What you focus on, you bring to yourself. You may have experienced that when there was something that you wanted in your life. You know, maybe you wanted a car of some description and you never see that car. And then all of a sudden you've decided that you want that car and the whole world and his wife seem to have one. So what we're putting out is coming back. So if we're putting out negativity, we're bringing back negativity into our world. And what I want to say about our thoughts as we go through this, our thoughts create what we feel. And it's what we feel, the energy behind what we are feeling is what's creating what's happening in our world. So our thoughts are just the first part of it. Our thoughts are the initial thing. Okay. And then once we've got those thoughts working repetitively in our minds, they are creating the feelings that we feel. So, and our feelings are what we are reacting on. Our feelings are what's creating our day-to-day experiences. So, going deeper into that, then, our thoughts and our beliefs shape our reality. So Louise Hay used to say, what we believe becomes true for us. And I think we can probably all say that we've experienced that. Trying to think of an example in my life of something like that. I thought for years that I'd never be able to lose weight, you know, and I didn't. I tried every single diet in the book, but I was an overweight, pretty worthless human being in my mind. Nobody would be interested in what I had to say. Nobody would be interested in what was going on in my world. And I created that for myself. I was somebody who was 4 stone heavier. And I didn't really go out very much. I stopped living life really because I just believed that this person really wasn't worthy of much. But I did an awful lot of work. I've done an awful lot of work on the power of thought and the law of attraction and self-belief and self-worth. And I have turned that around and have become a completely different person to that I was. And that's through just working on my belief system and putting out a whole new different philosophy of how I feel and how I think in the world. Just seeing, hi Anya, nice to see you. Thank you for joining me. Good to see you. Please say hello if you're hopping on. It would be great to see who's here with me. So moving on, our thoughts are creative. So they're not idle and they accumulate over time. So one small thought, imagine your thoughts like a drip of water, okay? So you have a drip of water. One drip of water does not a puddle make, but those thoughts keep dripping, drip, 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 and eventually those drips start to become a puddle, okay? And then those puddles become bigger and bigger. And so we are creating neural pathways in our brain. So we actually, when we're thinking and when we have continuous thoughts, we're actually creating pathways in the brain, and they become our beliefs. Whether they're true or not, we have created these neural pathways that are building in our brain and creating our life experience. We have to take responsibility for our thought processes. Nobody else is making us think these thoughts. We have to kind of stand up and say, I have from my experience created this belief system, and the thoughts I am having are based on that belief system. How we perceive things are based on our past experiences and our deep subconscious thoughts. I'm going to come on to that in a minute. But we have to take responsibility for ourselves in terms of our thoughts and what we're creating for ourselves. Every single thought we have is contributing to the future we are creating for ourselves. Okay, so what we believe today is what we are going to bring to ourselves tomorrow. All right. So again, coming back to the law of attraction. So I'm trying to speak about this in terms of what we're negatively creating for ourselves. So let's bring it to age. We have, on a daily basis, we are bombarded with messaging that says that we have to be anti-aging, that having lines and wrinkles is unattractive, we get to a certain age and we have to write ourselves off. I see a lot of elderly people every day who have written themselves off. They're not capable of doing things, or they're frightened of trying something new because they're too old for that. So if we start these belief systems now, then that's what we're going to bring to ourselves. So what I'm going to get to eventually with this talk is how we turn that around, how we actually try and work to make our negative thoughts more positive. Just got a message on my vision board. I've got a quote: whether you think you can and whether you think you can't are both usually right. Confucius later attributed to Henry Ford. Exactly. So it's as Anya again. Thank you, Anya. Whether you think you can and whether you think you can't are both usually right. Exactly. But it depends on the perspective you're coming from. Okay. So you either have a perspective where you believe that you can, or you have a perspective that you believe that you can't. Right. So they're coming from the same place, they're coming from within you. It's whether you choose to believe you can, or it's whether you choose to believe that you can't. So a lot of our thoughts or a lot of our perceptions are made by the time we are 5 years old. I'm just going to bring up a little picture here, which is an iceberg. It's an analogy of the mind. So we have the conscious mind. The conscious mind is what we are thinking or consciously thinking of. So we can say, shall I brush my teeth? Yes, I can. Shall I have this for lunch? Yes, I can. Or yes, I will. Shall I wear this today? Yes, I will. Oh, and so we have this conscious thought. I was just thinking of sort of basic daily thoughts. Some of our thoughts, our conscious thoughts, are deeper than that. And we base how we live our lives and the actions we take on these conscious thoughts. So they're on top of the water. And as you can see, it's a very small part of the mind. What we have sitting under the water is our subconscious mind. All of the thoughts and feelings and perceptions and beliefs that we have created that we don't consciously acknowledge and recognize. Okay. A lot of these, as I say, have been developed by the time we are 5 years old. We have built a lot of our perceptions as a child, and these sit in our subconscious mind. And when we come across experiences or situations that trigger how we felt as a child, it brings up all of these subconscious beliefs. So we start saying, "I can't do that. Um, I'm not capable of doing that." It brings up negativity. I wrote recently a post about the ice cream. I think I talked about it in the self-belief talk last month, where when I was about 5 or 6 years old, the ice cream van came round, and I asked my brother what he wanted, and he said he wanted a vanilla cone. So I went and bought him a vanilla cone, and I bought myself a double vanilla cone with chocolate chips and chocolate sauce and a fudge and a flake. Because, that's what I wanted. He wanted a vanilla cone. I wanted everything. And quite rightly, my parents taught me a lesson in greed and gave the larger ice cream to my brother. But that created very, very early on a belief in me that I possibly wasn't good enough. That wasn't the only incident. I'm just using this as kind of a little story to explain where these thoughts come from. But in that moment, I felt really unworthy and that I wasn't good enough to have this beautiful, glorious ice cream. We go through our lives having these experiences. Some we remember, some we don't. I didn't actually remember that experience until I did a meditation in a workshop that I was doing, and the whole memory came back, but it had been sort of set down into my subconscious. And I realized that during this meditation that some of the things I was experiencing in my adult life came from the fact that I wasn't worthy to have a big ice cream. Right. So these deep down beliefs and experiences that we've locked away are actually coming up unconsciously and impacting on how we live our lives on a daily basis. So there is hope. Our thoughts can be changed. The work comes in becoming aware of those thoughts in the first place. We if you've ever done law of attraction work, so on and so forth, you will do exercises and meditations and things that bring these thought processes up into your conscious mind, bringing them to the surface. So when we start becoming conscious of what we really think and how we really feel, we can then start to do the work that actually changes our thoughts to more positive ones. You can start small. I kind of I have started in work. If something negative happens in my work space, I as soon as I become aware of the fact that I'm being a little bit negative about it, I try and turn it on its head. I try and say, okay, that's happened. Let's move on. Try not to harp on it. Try not to think about it, because we have the danger of things happening to us and then we sit and fester. So, someone might be rude to you during the day, or just hurt your feelings. People do it all the time. And instead of just saying, okay, that was a moment, this is how I've thought about it, but I'm going to turn it on its head and say, I'm not going to let it, and not going to dwell on it. We tend to go, I didn't like how they talked to me. That's made me feel really bad. How dare they talk to me like that? What do they mean by that? I don't think I'm like that at all. Who are they to say that I'm like that? And so you start having this whole mind monkey dialogue of building this thing up into your mind. And we tend to build things up in our minds to be 100 times worse than they actually are. And it was just one brief word or sentence. And believe me, working in retail, you do get some pretty strange comments and remarks, and sometimes they can be hurtful. You do take them personally, but I always turn it around and say, I don't know what day that person's having. You know, they've reacted, they've said what they've said, but I don't know. I'm not walking in their shoes. I'm not living their life, so I can't actually say that what they've said was directly aimed at me. It's just what's going on in their world at the moment. So I try and turn it around and say and let it go. So how do we make changes? First of all, be aware of what we're thinking, right? And then when you are aware of what you're thinking, if the thought is a negative one, then try and be compassionate to yourself about it. Just because you're feeling negative or you're having a negative thought doesn't mean you have to berate yourself about it. You're allowed to not like things. So be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with your thoughts. Your thoughts are based on your experience. Your thoughts are based on what's happened to you before, and it's coming up and triggering things in you now. So just be okay with what you're thinking. Okay, that doesn't mean I want you to dwell on it. That doesn't mean that it becomes, it's okay to be negative. No, we're going to turn it around, but just say it's okay for me to think and feel how I'm feeling in this moment. Then forgiveness comes into play. Forgive yourself for the thoughts and feelings. Forgive anybody else who might have been involved that you think, we're so easy to blame. That person made me feel this way. We all do it. We're human beings. And this is where the taking personal responsibility comes in. We are responsible for how we choose to think and feel about something. So if somebody has triggered you, has upset you in some way, take a little bit of responsibility for it. You are choosing to respond to what they've said based on your subconscious beliefs, right? Difficult concept to get your head around, I know. So we are making our decisions about what somebody else says or does to us based on all the thoughts and feelings we had as a 5-year-old. Great. So what we need to do is forgive ourselves and forgive others, because we are all doing the best we can with the knowledge that we have. Okay, we're all experiencing our lives. Not a single one of us can control what's happening in somebody else's life. We also have absolutely no idea what's going on in that person's head. We don't know whether we've triggered them. We might have said something in the first instance that's put them on the defensive based on their subconscious belief. And then they respond to us. And then we say, well, I don't like that based on my subconscious belief. And so the whole thing kicks off. So it's really trying to understand where your thoughts are coming from and that somebody else is having their thoughts too. We can't control what's happening in our lives, but we can control our reactions. Absolutely. We can control exactly right. We can control how we respond to situations and things. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that I am God's gift and I am perfect. I react to things every single day. But what I try and do at the end of the day is reflect. If I'm still carrying something negative around, I'm still dwelling on something that happened during the day, what I try and do is actually reflect on that. And I might write some things down and say, okay, what was that me? What responsibility am I going to take in that? Or is that just somebody who's having a bad day and I took it personally at the time? Live mindfully. That's the next thing I want to talk about. We only have our point of power is right here, right now. Okay. So I can't change what happened 10 minutes ago. I certainly can't change what happened previously in my life, but I can't change what happened 10 minutes ago. I can't actually do anything about what's going to happen 10 minutes from now either. I have no idea what's going to happen in 10 minutes from now. So my only point of influence is right here, right now, in this moment at 2025 on Monday, the 11th of March. This is where I have my point of power. This is where I can choose to think, feel, and believe what I want to believe. Right here in this moment. Can't do what's past, can't do what's future. When you start to understand that you have this mindful power, this power that's here in this moment, you can actually start focusing on your choices. How am I going to choose to be in this moment? Am I going to be negative Nelly and see life as tough and hard? Let me just take this, just realised my iceberg's still up. Am I going to take this this situation right here and now and define my life by it? Or am I just going to say, hey, we've just gone through a pretty traumatic time in the world, right? We've all had to make choices. We've all had to make life decisions based around the things that we had to live through. I was put into furlough and I had 3 months at home. Me being the couch potato that I am, I could have quite happily sat here and watched television. I'd just gone through my whole weight loss regime. I was beginning to change my life and my health. And I could have quite easily, in that furlough situation, gone back to just sitting watching telly and eating rubbish on the sofa. Believe me, I find that really easy to do. But I made the conscious decision at the time that I was going to be somebody completely different. So I went out and exercised every single day. I went out for the hour that we were allowed, walked 5 miles, did the couch to 5K, got into my yoga practice. And I made these thoughts for myself. I made these conscious decisions to change what I could do quite easily subconsciously, right? So my subconscious is actually quite lazy. I am a couch potato. I find it very easy to get into that, but I consciously make these mindful decisions that that is not who I am going to be and how I'm going to live my life going forward. We can do that in terms of our aging. I know that, I could believe all the adverts on the telly. I could sit here worrying about the aging process. I know that I sort of teach anti-aging and I do face yoga and everything, but believe me, actually getting old is not what I'm worried about. Aging healthily is what I'm worried about, or what my concerns are. It's not that I'm going to get old. I absolutely know that I am. Every year that ticks by is another year towards old age, and that's absolutely fine. But what I don't want to be is somebody who suffers in old age. I don't want to be somebody who's sitting in the doctor's office every single week because I have some sort of ailment. I don't want to not be able to live my life because I'm too frightened to go outside. I don't want to not be able to use a till in a store because they frighten me. So what I do and what I teach isn't about anti-aging. It's not about staying young. It's about aging well and embracing the people and the power that the people we are and the power that we have in the wisdom that we have as we age. So around the mindful thing, just before I move off of that one, is just know your power in what you're thinking and feeling and what you're creating for yourself. What to do when we have a negative thought? I've kind of covered this. Turn it around. So, don't berate yourself for having the negative thought. Allow yourself to have the negative thought. We're allowed to be cross. We're allowed to think, well, that's not fair. But when you are consciously aware of that thought, how are you going to turn it around? How are you going to make that situation a little bit more positive for yourself? Because we want to create positivity, right? We don't want to keep creating negative situations that keep coming to us and coming to us. We want to create a positive mental attitude. So as soon as you recognize something negative in your world, what can you do? It might be an action you can take. It might be a conversation you can have. It might be a thought that you can think to change that negative space around. Again, I know at work, if something negative happens, we all sort of gather together and share that experience so that none of us are festering on it. We've shared it, we've got it off our chests, we move on, we get on with the day. So I've mentioned affirmations earlier on. This is a tool that a lot of people use now to change their mindset and to create a positive mental attitude. So, affirmations are positive present tense statements that we can use to create a more positive frame of mind. In the first instance, they are just words. Okay. So when you start using affirmations, you can just think, oh, well, I still don't believe that. There's a little bit of an incongruence between the words that you're saying and how you feel about them. But the more you get in touch with the words, the more you create the feelings within, and the more you create that positive frame of mind. So, I wasn't going to do this, but maybe sort of think of an area in your life that you find a little bit challenging at the moment. You know, it could be health, it could be money, it could whatever, doesn't really matter, but something that you find challenging, something you're feeling a little bit negative about. And what I want you to do, I'm not going to get you to do it right here, right now. But do a little bit journaling on it, and it's kind of so let's talk money, for example. A lot of it's an area where people find negativity comes up a lot. We are, the world we're living in at the moment, we've been told we're in a recession, everything's going up, price wise, salaries don't be going up incrementally with the cost of food and the cost of utilities. So we're all a little bit concerned about money. So write down what your concerns are. I don't have enough. Where am I going to get the next my next money from? What are your fears around money? And then what I want you to do is once you've done that and understand what your feelings and your beliefs are around that, turn it on its head. Write some affirmations. I have enough money for everything I need. Positive present tense. Don't ever say I will have enough or I'm going to have enough, because that keeps it in the future. What you want to do is make your positive affirmation present tense. I always have enough. Money flows easily to me. There is more than enough for me and everybody else. Money is golden. I am wealth. My wealth is powerful. Things like that. Turn it around. Have an understanding of what your beliefs are. When you understand what your beliefs are, you can turn your thoughts around. And when you turn your thoughts around and you start to understand what it is you're thinking, you have power over what you are creating for yourself in your life and in your world. Any questions? Is there anybody here with me? Have you got any questions about what we've talked about? I'm not going to go too much further on. It's a big concept to take on board, and I actually do a 2-day workshop on this whole thing. So trying to do it in half an hour. It's a pretty big subject to cover. So I'll just, StreamYard takes a minute. Any questions from anybody? Don't know. I've had no indication that anybody's been watching actually this evening. Let me have a look at my phone. Oh, it looks like there's quite a few people watching. Hello, everyone. If you're watching, if you're still here, thank you so much for joining. And I hope that this has been a little bit of interest to you. So the power of our thoughts. If you've got any questions after I end this live stream, please put them in the comments. I'm more than happy to sort of answer questions. I will go back over anything at the end of this. Next live session I have is the importance of cleansing your skin in anti-aging. So I'm really excited to do that with everybody, because I'm actually going to have all my cleansers out and actually cleanse my skin, my face on screen. In fact, I might actually do that on Zoom. So if anybody wants to join me on Zoom to have a little cleansing session, a little skincare session on, I think it's Friday the 22nd, is it? Hang on, let me just have a quick look. Yes, Friday the 22nd. So if anybody would like to join me on Zoom for a little facial session, then please let me know again in the comments of this. And I will actually, rather than do it as a Facebook Live, we'll do it as a Zoom. And we can all just have a little bit of a pamper together in the Zoom room. On that note, thank you for everybody who's taken the time to watch this evening. If you're watching the replay, please do #replay so that I can see that you've watched. And again, any questions, pop them in the comments and I will answer them. Thank you so much. Lots of love, and I'll see you all really very soon. Bye for now.